dictionary so I can put
Ole,
it under
we're
my
back with another episode. Last week's show was of particular interest to so many viewers. There are a lot of Crowdsource the Truth viewers who've been following so many of these events for decades. I am not necessarily up on all of these things, but we were joined last week by Rebecca Carnes. She's back with us, and we're delighted to also welcome back to the show Cody Snodgres. Cody, welcome back. Rebecca, welcome back. How's everybody doing today?
Very well. Thanks for having me back.
Ole, Cody?
Doing good, but how is Cody still with us?
Yeah, I'm here. I had medical stuff last week. I couldn't be here, but got to go back to the doctor tomorrow. So we're just getting better after the car wreck and doing better. Thanks for the opportunity to be here. I appreciate it.
We always enjoy having you, Cody. And you know, it's troubling because we've spoken about how there's censorship in social media, and it's ironic that we've got everybody here together today because, you know, Ole, yours was the very first show that remains a sponsor exclusive here on Crowdsource the Truth, and it was prompted in part by an experience that you and Cody and I had when we were talking about what will remain an unnamed school shooting incident. Just discussing it got Crowdsource the Truth kicked off of YouTube for 3 months, really played a significant role in kind of squashing our message. But luckily, people can join us in just about 25 minutes on patreon.com/lightonconspiracies, patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth, and subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth. In addition to allowing us to keep these sort of shows going, this also helps add a layer of protection where some of these other services actually require legal action, and we have to break the law in order to be taken off of the internet, where YouTube and Facebook can kind of flex their muscles. You've had a lot of problems with that. Actually, everybody on the call has had a lot of problems with that. Ole, you want to fill us in on what's going on lately?
Well, lately I did a show with Alfred Lavermont Weber, who's an international lawyer and former judge who was part of the War Tribune in Kuala Lumpur, where they tried George Bush Jr., Dick Cheney, and Tony Blair. They were tried for crimes against humanity, and all of them sentenced, even though they were not there. But they are the countries that have accepted that international tribune. The sentence is legal and valid in these countries, so they cannot fly there. They will be arrested.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, Alfred and I we're doing a marathon about the assassination of the Swedish Prime Minister Olof Palme. It's going to be like maybe 4 or 5 parts, depending on how long. But we're already done 2, and both of them were taken down. So, but by Vimeo, and Vimeo is the first time that they've started hitting back like this. So Alfred has now started a legal process against them, where he's going to sue the living bejesus out of them if they don't stop messing with us. You know, so that's wonderful. I know other people have also started legal procedure against YouTube. I think Kerry Cassidy from Project Camelot and other people have started calling in, you know, heavy gunslingers to meet these dark forces, because it's just absolutely ridiculous what's going on, or it's very scary in one way if we let it continue.
Yeah, and Rebecca, you've met opposition as well in what you've been trying to do. What can you tell us about this type of internet censorship that you've been subjected to?
That's right. Last week I thought, you know what, I'll crank up my own YouTube channel and start putting up some videos of my own stuff and interviews I'm doing. And the 4th video I put up, the first 4 were pretty benign, but the next one I put up with my very first interview with Jim Fetzer back in January, a couple hours later, I get an email from YouTube for a hate speech violation.
Wow.
And believe me, I wrote them back. Not that it matters. I don't even think they read them. But I wrote them back and I said, listen, I'm a Newtown mom. I've lived here my whole life, grew up here. I have kids in the school system. expressing my personal experience with this event that happened in my town. And you know what? Less than 10 minutes later, they just got back to me and said, rejected my appeal.
Wow.
And, I was not surprised, but this is, and, these companies have a monopoly on this, and they're supposed to be considered the public square. I mean, if you consider that you have a right to free speech, you can go to your sidewalks in your towns and cities, the public square, and express your free speech. The public square on the internet is supposed to be these big companies like YouTube and Facebook, but they have a monopoly and they're obviously controlled, and they shut down people that are expressing views that oppose the official story, which is what I'm experiencing for the first time now with this pushback. But I know all of you three, this is probably old hat to you guys. So, yeah. Yeah.
Standard
Absolutely.
procedure.
And,
right.
Welcome to the club. Speech.
Exactly. But, the thing is, Ole, among the four of us, I think it's possible that Cody has experienced the most aggressive opposition. We are all basically merchants of information. We're dealing in questions, answers, evidence, research. Cody, your experience has been, more as a military operative and a contractor. And so the resistance that you're meeting is decidedly dangerous. What can you tell us about that?
Well, it's absolutely amazing. The last time you, Jason, and me and Ole, when you got kicked off of YouTube that time, Ole had all those pictures of the crisis actors and so forth. And then your video was taken down, and we sent a copy of it to another station for them to play. And then it got taken down by YouTube. And then the next day, I scheduled an interview with me and Ole, a guy in a TV station out in Seattle here in the U.S., and we got about 5 minutes into the show, and Ole sent him all those same pictures and everything, and his whole studio crashed. And it's the first time it ever happened. And I was on the line, and the call waiting came back, and it was the guy, Don's his name, and he said, I had to go and get my grandson's cell phone to call you, Cody, because my cell phones went out, my phones went out, the whole system went down. And so they've really been trying to shut down any truth, like Rebecca's trying to get out, and Fetzer and Ole and you. And on the next part of the show, we can get deeper into this. But just last night, I've been helping some people that were involved with Michael Aquino in the Psychological Operations Phoenix Project and stuff from Vietnam, and their SRA, sexual ritual abuse victims, and the satanic underpinnings of the Illuminati and the New World Order. So last night, someone had smuggled some footage out of China with people being hung by meat hooks for organ harvesting. This is real hardcore stuff, and they had to sneak it by the Communist Party and get it out. They couldn't use the internet. They couldn't use anything, and they snuck it. So anyway, long story short, on the show last night, the guy that runs the show used to be a CI operative down in Central America. But anyway, now they went to show that, and YouTube, they're doing a live stream on YouTube, and they quit the whole show, just knocked it clean out and shut it down, because they were showing real stuff coming out of China that they had to smuggle past the censorship. And so Rebecca's absolutely right about all this censorship. Ole has been beat into the Stone Age over the years, and you too, Jason. We've all been hit real hard, and so I'm glad that Kerry Cassidy and all of them are standing up to it. But yes, I've been out on the front lines, and they tried to kill me in that car wreck December 21st, 2017, when we were breaking the Oklahoma City story. So I'm recovering from that, and that's all the surgery and medical stuff I'm doing now 2.5 years later as a result of that. And my medical bills are going to be over $1 million. So that's more than the money they offered me to bond the Murrah building in the first place. So anyway, this whole thing is coming to a head, and I'm very happy to be with Rebecca and you and Ole, because y'all are all patriots and y'all are all good people, not just patriots of one country. When I mean patriots, I mean people who are trying to be patriots of the truth, wherever it leads, and that fearless, dogged determination that Ole has, to just follow the truth wherever it leads, even if it's unpleasant or what you don't believe in. So we've all been hit hard, and the censorship's absolutely horrible. The new book I'm writing is about the deep state and the strategies and tactics of censorship and propaganda. So it's big and deep, and we could talk for hours, so I don't want to hog the whole show, but thanks for having me here.
Well, I have to say, one of the biggest frustrations with this censorship is I think what we're all trying to do is wake people up to the lies and deception. And if you can't reach people through these major platforms like YouTube, and you have to try and go to BitChute or Vimeo, you're not going to reach as many people to wake them up. And that's what they fear, because if the masses woke up to this, they would be in big trouble, the controllers or puppet masters or whatever. So that's their big fear. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Rebecca's absolutely right. And, it's the thing that I find intriguing. First of all, I want to remind people who are maybe seeing Cody for the first time, you can learn more about his background and experience by going to lightonconspiracies.com. If you just tap on the shop tab, you can purchase books by Ole and Cody. You can get Cody's book, Choosing the Light, where he reveals the dark secrets of the Oklahoma City bombing. It's really an amazing story. And, we've all been through exactly what each of you are describing. It's quite interesting to me how there seems to be a high degree of skill in terms of crafting an opposition that is almost like a bespoke tailored suit that fits each of us perfectly, identifies our strengths and weaknesses, plausible opposition. In other words, they're not going to, have somebody shoot me in the face when I walk outside of this apartment building. Oh, well, at least I hope not, because that would be very conspicuous. And it makes much more sense for their agenda for me to be minimized. They want everybody to think that I'm not a reliable source of information. They want to sue me so I have no money. These are sort of civilian attacks that can come against me. Ole represents a different problem. The civil courts of the United States cannot be effectively used against him because he's in Spain. So there's other things that they've got to do. So it's a highly sophisticated array of tactics that are used to minimize this message. And all we can do is attempt to counteract it. And as Rebecca said, using these lesser known platforms, it makes it harder to get the message out. But this is the sort of chicken and egg problem that we have. If we put it out on these most popular social media platforms, we're easily shut down. And this is why we ask people to join us on patreon.com/lightonconspiracies, patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth, and subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth. Rebecca, I feel like you're itching to say something.
Oh, well, I agree with everything you said, of course. But, in terms of psychological warfare and how they attack each of us in different ways, that's absolutely the truth. And I can tell you one funny story. I just started getting all these emails just last week for burial insurance. No joke. 4 emails a day for me to offering me $100,000 in burial insurance or something like that. I'm like, not even life insurance? Really, guys? You're going right for the burial insurance?
Wow.
So, yeah, and that's just
they shut down. I had a $5,000 donation from Australia that was coming in from one of our donors there. We had them from Hong Kong and different places, but they've shut down all the money. They block them at the bank, and I've had PayPals and Stripes. Ole's been hit. I talked to John B. Wells, the producer there at Caravan to Midnight. They've been hit. They're trying to use money as a tool in the tool bag you're talking about. They've hacked our emails. Our modems have been down. Me and my girlfriend's credit cards were hit the next day after our modem was crashed. Both credit cards, 2 different names, 2 different banks, completely shut down. They said it was a fraud investigation in a town that didn't exist. The whole thing went back to a dead end. They shut my Social Security checks down. It took us 2 or 3 weeks, to track it down. They said there was an unexplained computer glitch. And then our phone line, a couple of weeks ago, the physical phone line was cut and laying on the road here. It goes on and on and on. But no matter what they do, we're going to stand together with brothers and sisters like you, Jason, Ole, Rebecca, the other people out there, Jim Fetzer, the rest of them. We'll stand together as brothers and sisters in the light, and we'll hold love in our hearts, and no matter what they do. they're not going to stop us from the truth.
But you see how they custom tailor it. There's a different level of opposition for Cody. Now, a simple email to Cody may not be sufficient to scare him. And I'm not saying that it would you, Rebecca, but that's their anticipation. You're a mom, you're a civilian, running you off the road in your car would be an extreme step. And they don't want to do those types of things to people like you or I or even Ole, because we're just regular people walking around. But we are becoming well known in this world of discussing sort of taboo topics. And the large audience that follows our discussions would become quite suspicious if something unusual happened to us. So the goal is to financially decimate, to destroy our reputations, to make us appear crazy. And Rebecca, as you gain notoriety, perhaps some of these things, like you described with the email and everything, obviously intended to intimidate you.
Well, yeah, and my recent arrest to get the smart meter off my home, but I think I explained in the last episode, I was really arrested because I hinted to the Newtown cops that showed up in the waiting room at the local utility that I knew the truth about a certain event that happened in my town. And as soon as I hinted that, and they knew what I was talking about, they said, stand up, turn around. I was arrested for the first time in my life. Here I am, this mom concerned about radiation coming off her smart meter, but that wasn't really why I was arrested. I hinted that I knew the truth and that they should be the one in handcuffs, not me. And, now they've got me in the court system. Of course, they ordered a mental health evaluation on me. Of course, this is a tactic they use a lot, which they did to Wolfgang Halbig. Of course, he went through that whole thing, and that's what I'm going through now, too. And they hit us in different ways, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing, you should avoid these mental investigation or whatever you call it, because it will be used against you, even if they will show that you're sane. They will use it saying, well, she had to go through this, I've seen it in Sweden. I have friends there who was called to exactly the same type of thing, when they became critical. The thing with you, Rebecca, is that in one way, you haven't been in this game for such a long time. Your background is not really into these type of operations. The thing is with you is you're right in the center. You live right in the center of this deep shark waters, and so you are right in the center of an ongoing operation that they still try to keep the lid on, which is why you need to be careful. I tell you once again. And
I thank you for your warning. Yeah. And that's right, Ole. And I thank you for your warning. And you told me to kind of stay in the spotlight too, which is what I'm trying to do. But also, and I don't know if this is true, I think maybe I have some added protection or power against speaking out of these people because I'm a woman and I'm a mother in town with kids who are still in the school system. I think that's true. I think it's harder for them to go after women than it is for men, I suspect,
It is because they get the emotional blowback from a woman that they normally use when it comes to victims and so on operations to get the emotional impact, But here suddenly they need to make you look like a bad egg or whatever, and not easy. And so I think you get added protection there as well, but it's like still, the way I see it is like I call it dancing, 2 steps forward, you start feeling that there's tension, take 1 step back. It's not being a coward, it's being being strategic. 2 steps back, focus on something else, let them think that you gave up, then 2 steps forward until there's tension, 1 step back. And
that's interesting. Okay.
The problem I detect you're currently facing, Rebecca, is that they have engaged you with lawfare. The exact same tactics they're using against me. Now, in my case, they've taken the civil route by arresting you and subjecting you to this psychological evaluation. This is within the power of the court to do. But as Ole points out, it is almost always, in fact, when I read the law about this specific thing, it cautions that it is virtually never a positive outcome for the person being evaluated, because irrespective of what's determined by a doctor, it becomes public record in the lawsuit that it happened, and they can publicize it in a variety of ways and paint you in the public light. This is what they want to do. They want to minimize your message by causing the public to believe that you shouldn't be listened to, that you're a crazy person, or whatever it is that they're going to try to do. And once they get you into that court system, there are some really significant barriers that you're going to be forced to deal with. Court appearances, expenses of attorneys, and things like that. And obviously what they want to do to someone like you, to someone like me, is to turn either a civil or a misdemeanor type of criminal thing into something that can put you in jail, destroy you financially, destroy your reputation. And then once you're in the prison system, there is a high degree of intimidation. I mean, certainly, if a random civilian were to be killed in jail, that's not necessarily an unusual outcome, but let's not anticipate anything like that. I just want to caution you to be very careful about the dangerous situation they are trying to maneuver you into.
Yeah, that's right. And if, you know, they gave me a first-degree misdemeanor charge, which carries up to a year in prison, you know,
Wow.
so they really the charge. Oh yeah, for sitting in a waiting room for 3 hours reading a book and wanting customer service about my smart meter. So, you know, but they amped it up to first-degree misdemeanor, which could carry up to a year in prison. And that's right. They ordered this mental health evaluation, which I had to do because otherwise I would have been in contempt of court.
And that's jail right there. And I want people to contemplate for a minute just what 1 year in jail would do to your personal life, your family life, even your reputation among relatives, your children. You would be branded forever as a criminal who's been to jail, not to mention the psychological, physical, and other abuse you would experience while there.
Just think about what they could shoot me up with too, inoculations and whatever they wanted once they got me in there. Yeah, sure, they could do whatever they wanted to me, you know, and it's very scary. Although I had a public defender because I can't afford a lawyer, but then he was working against me and lied to me, and I recorded the conversation where he wouldn't let me look at the police report, even though it was within my right, and I finally got him to do it. Yeah, he was working against me. Then I appealed, and I asked to get him dismissed, appealed to the Connecticut Bar Association, and then I found out, guess who's the head of the Connecticut Bar Association in Connecticut? Well, a Newtown resident, Monte Frank, who is very plugged in with Bloomberg and these anti-gun groups, and he lives in Newtown. So do I feel screwed? Oh, yeah, I feel very screwed in this court system, but I'm doing what I can, of course, you know, to fight it hard. Yeah.
Wow.
You know, there's a standard procedure as well that this whole thing is rigged against you, including your lawyer, you know. Yeah. And very often they're Freemasons connected behind the scenes. It looks like it's opposition, it's not. And the whole thing is about getting you off the map.
It's stunning to hear the firsthand account, the way you're laying it out with detail like this, Rebecca. I mean, we've heard all of these stories, but it's really important, I think, for everyone to utilize the resources that they have. Go on the internet, do what I did. Look up bar exam videos, look up the federal rules of civil procedure. I'm not suggesting that people become their own lawyers in matters where they're in civil or legal jeopardy, but it is important that you know your rights. As Rebecca said, if the lawyer is not performing properly, challenge that lawyer. Whether you're in the hospital or a courtroom, it is incredibly important that you are your own advocate. If you don't have a family member that you trust or someone who can give you good advice, it's just so important. We're almost out of time, and we're going to go into great detail on this and other topics when we continue with the sponsor-exclusive segment in just about 5 minutes on patreon.com/lightonconspiracies, patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth, and subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth. I want to remind everybody also to visit Ole's free website, lightonconspiracies.com. You can stay abreast of Ole's daily postings, other interviews and videos that he's doing. And of course, you can visit the electronic shop, purchase books written by Ole and Cody as well. Choosing the Light is available here on Light on Conspiracies, as well as Coup d'etat in slow motion.
For free.
Ole's
for free.
For free. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Because well, that's the Fetzer book, you mean, is free, right?
Yeah, but I was part of producing that one. I did the covers and the interior design and so on for the whole series of these books, where most of them has been banned. But this was the first book ever that I know of that Amazon banned, and because of that, we decided to give it out for free, and then we added on a lot of stuff, and then so the printed version you buy now is an extended version, but this is the first one that got banned.
Nice. So people can get that for free and they can purchase other books of great interest. I also want to make sure people remember that Rebecca's got a blog. It's the Newtown Rooster, and I'm going to post the link to that blog in the description of this video. It's a little bit of a long URL, but if you want to support Rebecca and help her fight what sounds to me like corruption, you can go to paypal.me/NewtonRooster and make a financial contribution to Rebecca's effort. I'll see everybody, and I hope people will join us in just a few minutes on Patreon and Subscribestar. Thanks for watching, everybody.